The EU signatories haven't been complying with their obligations. If they comply with these obligations, Iran will be able to guarantee the future life of the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action.
All right, joining us live on the programme now, Medina Kochnova, who's been following today's bilateral talks between the Russian and Iranian foreign ministers in Moscow. Medina, break down the meeting for us.
Well, Iran's Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif says that it's time the European signatories kept their side of the bargain and deliver on their commitments following the Iranian nuclear deal. Now, under the 2015 deal, Iran agreed to limit its uranium enrichment program and also sell any excess heavy water it has. Tehran also agreed not to engage in any activities that could possibly lead to the development of nuclear weapons. Now, that was in exchange for a lifting of some economic sanctions against Iran. So, as of this Wednesday, Iran has said that it will stop selling off that excess heavy water. And in 2 months, if no agreement is reached with the remaining signatories, it will boost its levels of uranium enrichment and also push ahead with the development of the Arak nuclear reactor. Now, the Iranian foreign minister blamed the U.S. for creating such a complicated situation after the United States withdrew from the nuclear deal. And in recent weeks, the U.S. has taken an increasingly hostile approach towards Iran, even issuing several threats.
We have continued to see activity that leads us to believe that there's escalation that may be taking place. And so we're taking all the appropriate actions, both from a security perspective and well as our ability to make sure that the president has a wide range of options in the event that something should actually take place. What we've been trying to do is to get Iran to behave like a normal nation.
Well, earlier this week, the U.S. also announced that it will deploy a naval strike group to the Middle East in order to counter the alleged threat coming from Iran and also send a message to its leadership. Now, the same day, the U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo made quite a surprise visit to Iraq, where he voiced his concerns over Iran's growing influence in the area. And speaking to the press here in Moscow, the country's foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, said that it's the U.S. who's using aggression as an instrument.
Unfortunately, this is typical of our American colleagues, whether it's in the Middle East, the Persian Gulf, or in Venezuela. It's distressing. During my meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo in Finland on Monday, I called on him to employ diplomacy rather than issue threats when it comes to challenging situations.
While China, one of the signatories of the 2015 nuclear deal, says that the pact should be saved and fully implemented, it seems the European signatories are the ones who have 60 days to choose between Washington and its sanctions and Iran and its deal.
Yeah, it does seem as if the ball's very much in Brussels' court at the moment. Thank you very much, Medina Kochnova, our correspondent. Well, a spokesperson for the German government has called on Iran to avoid taking any aggressive steps. Our correspondent, Peter Oliver, now takes a look at the tight bind the EU signatories find themselves in.
A lot of eyes are on the EU and European signatories to this Iran deal right now to see what they're going to do next. Are they going to side with their NATO ally, the United States, or are they going to stick with Iran, who they've been very vocal in support of particularly since the US pulled out of this deal, but also in the lead up to getting the deal done? There was an awful lot of work put in by the EU side. I know Federica Mogherini, the High Representative for EU Foreign Affairs, saw this project as a particular personal achievement, and she was quite visibly upset when the United States pulled out. We'll be looking to see what comment she gives, or if any, later on. What we have seen, though, is a comment on Wednesday from the French Defence Ministry. They said that should Iran do essentially what they've said they're going to do and pull out of the deal, that was the worst-case scenario for all involved.
Today, nothing could be worse than Iran leaving the agreement. There are no sanctions today from Europe because Iran has so far always respected the commitments it has undertaken. If these commitments are not respected, the question will be reconsidered.
Well, there has been a lot of, warm words, as I mentioned, from the EU side to Iran saying, don't worry, we've got you, despite the US pulling out. But a lot of the problems come not from the political side, the diplomatic side. It comes down to the brass tacks of cash and business, because when the US pulled out of the deal, they said any businesses doing trade with Iran, well, you could be eligible for sanctions and we would put those sanctions on you. So that saw an exodus, really, of EU business that had got involved with Iran. We've seen the likes of Total, the French oil giant, saying that they were going to pull out. VW, Daimler, car manufacturers saying that as well as Airbus, the aerospace giant. In response to that, to try and get these businesses to stay, at the beginning of this year, we heard from the European Union that France, Germany and the United Kingdom had said that they were going to set up a payment system to get around the US dollar and shield companies, essentially, from US sanctions. Now, this system, called INSTEX, the Instrument for Support of Trade Exchanges, if you want to know what it stands for, since it's been set up, hasn't really done anything. And the US side have said one of the reasons it really hasn't done anything is it doesn't have the correct international standards in place to protect against money laundering or financing for terrorism. And what the US is saying is it particularly doesn't, protect against money going to the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, or the IRGC. And they said that wasn't acceptable for the United States.
I question how that's even remotely possible with a country like Iran, where the Revolutionary Guard Corps is so endemic within the economy, but also hidden in many different respects.
So the ball very much in the European Union's court. The choices they have are, do they walk away from the Iran nuclear deal? Do they try and placate the United States more, as they've tried in the past? That's the big questions for the EU right now. What do they do next? Because all eyes are focused on them.
Political analyst Stephen Rouhani told me earlier it's now down to Europe to negate US and Israeli moves against Iran.
Today, the European Union is the only side that has good relations with the United States and with the Islamic Republic of Iran. And they are the only side who can redo this negotiation and redo this deal and get America back into this deal, because who pulled out and who broke this deal is the United States, not Iran. The United Nations and the European Union and the Russians and the Chinese, they all said that the Islamic Republic of Iran did their side of the deal. They did not break their side of the deal. So the only side in this world who has good relationship with the Tehran and Washington is the European Union. And they're going to do their best, because the economical interests for European Union to do business deals with the Iranians, it's a huge numbers. We're talking about billions of dollars between the two sides. And the European Union does not want to lose that chance just because the United States, they want to pull out just to please the Israeli Prime Minister.